Awesome. Not bad. Not a bad forecast there. Thank you so much, Russ. Well, the owners of the only drive-in movie theater in Metro Vancouver say a new health order is unfair, and now a petition has been launched encouraging drive-in theater fans to reach out to the health minister and BC's top doctor. Our Greg Harper is live in Langley with more on this. Good morning, Greg.
Good morning, Mary. Yes, here at Twilight Drive-In in Langley. It's been pretty busy here lately. They've been operating at half capacity due to COVID-19, so that's roughly 200 vehicles. It's been a sellout many nights. They're quite upset here right now after what BC's top doctor had to say yesterday. They've taken to the theater's Facebook page, reaching out to the public saying, "We need your help." And it comes after Dr. Bonnie Henry said yesterday that a ban on large gatherings of more than 50 people also applies to vehicles. Now, Twilight Drive-In says in the health order it references drive-in events and drive-in theaters. The owners feel an event is different than a drive-in theater, an established business at a permanent location. They've launched a petition asking for drive-in movie fans to reach out to the health minister and BC's top doctor, and this petition has over 2,000 signatures and climbing. Here is Dr. Bonnie Henry yesterday.
And it does apply to 50 vehicles. And this was, this is this phase where we are gradually moving into opening things up, and we need to be very cognizant about having small numbers of people. And that means, yes, we have a less risky environment when people are in cars. So yes, you can have more than one person in a car, but that becomes a very challenging situation when you have large numbers of vehicles.
So what does this mean for popular events like the Mini Donuts drive-thru at the P&E on the weekend? It was very popular. It was extended to another day. Take a look at the parking lot just off Hastings Street. This was on Saturday. Way more than 50 vehicles in that parking lot, and for some they had to wait roughly 2 hours to get Mini Donuts. Maybe some reorganization there, or perhaps events like that won't be allowed to continue. I have reached out to the P&E for comment. Back to the theater here. The ownership group here says they're not doing any interviews, but they are overwhelmed with the support from the public. If they do have to limit the vehicle size here to only 50 vehicles, they will have to take a serious look at it, they say, to see if it's feasible moving forward. Mary?
Still lots of confusion to that story, especially when it comes to the P&E. Thank you so much, Greg. 9:03 here on BT. 12 new cases of COVID-19 have been reported since Saturday in BC, along with 4 more deaths. All 4 were at the Langley Lodge long-term care home, where 20 people have now died. There are 36 fewer active cases being dealt with only 7 people in intensive care, down 1 from Saturday. The recovery rate is now up to 83%. A Vancouver school board is pushing forward to ensure there's zero tolerance for racism in the district. The board passed a motion last night asking the superintendent to put together a report on cases of racism in schools, specifically related to the COVID-19 pandemic. Alan Wong is the trustee who introduced the motion. He believes many incidents go unreported.
Priority number 1 is to ensure everyone is comfortable to address and attack any racial types of incidents, whether it's in the physical realm of when we open up school next Monday, or we're talking in any type of Teams meeting, so the online virtual meetings we're having with students. Because students and people are looking at the broader community, the news of issues and racial attacks, racial assaults that they're seeing, and there's been a huge uptick in the last few months due to COVID-19. So we need to be on top of that.
There's some good news for families of deaf and hard of hearing toddlers in the Lower Mainland. We told you last month that BC's only deaf preschool in Burnaby feared it would have to close due to a lack of funds. A new $230,000 lump sum from the province means it will be able to reopen in the fall. Despite the one-time boost, the BC Society for Deaf Children says it will still run a deficit and will have to make some cuts to the program. An online petition to save the school received 40,000 signatures. Vancouver is considering plans to repurpose 50 kilometers of roadway to create more space for restaurant patios and lines outside of businesses. The slow streets would have signs and barriers telling people to drive slowly and use the streets for local access only. It would also give more room for pedestrians and cyclists. If you tried to book a campsite in BC yesterday, you were likely one of thousands who experienced the system crashing.
So you put on your credit card information. I must have put it in a million times today. And then I got timed out, and then it would boot me out of the system. You know, as we're seeing things get reserved and booked, then I could no longer get any of the dates that we were looking for. So then it was going from a July camping trip to like beginning of July to now it's mid-June.
Turns out over 50,000 people were trying to access the system when it went live yesterday morning, compared to 1,100 at the same time last year. More than 27,000 reservations were logged by noon. The BC Environment Minister says new sites will continue to be available every day with BC's 2-month rolling reservation window. BC Ferries will resume service between Horseshoe Bay and Departure Bay on June 3rd. The ferry service says there will be 4 round-trip sailings every day starting next Wednesday. Sailings will operate at 50% capacity for passengers. Reservations are recommended. The ferry service says customers can stay in their vehicles. They have enhanced cleaning and screening of travelers to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. A new Leger poll suggests half of Canadians believe they're not getting the whole truth from governments about COVID-19. The highest level of mistrust was in Quebec. A number of people don't think COVID ever actually existed. Here in BC, about 4 in 10 people think wearing a mask in public should be mandatory. That number jumps to almost 60% in Quebec and Ontario, which are the 2 hardest hit provinces. About 45% of Canadians are very concerned about a second wave this fall. We'll find out tomorrow if Huawei executive Meng Wanzhou will be released from custody in BC. The BC Supreme Court Justice will release if what she's accused of in the U.S. is a crime in Canada. Meng has been under house arrest since December of 2018. That's when U.S. officials asked Canada to arrest her on allegations she committed fraud and violated American sanctions against Iran. Her arrest sparked a diplomatic dispute between Canada and China. Well, when was the last time you paid in cash? According to a new poll, only 3% of Canadians have decided to use physical money over the last month. Ashley Burr has more.
$5.25, $5.50, $5.55. When was the last time you paid in cash? Well, it appears over the last few weeks, 97% of Canadians have opted for plastic over the green.
I thought we were going to see a jump on the credit cards, understandably, but I didn't think it was going to be that massive.
Over the last 4 weeks, half of all transactions in Canada have been paid for with a credit card and a third with a debit card. That according to a Glacier Media and Research Co. poll, in which 1,000 Canadians took part. To put things into perspective, when the same poll was conducted in February of last year, less than a quarter, just 24% of payments had been made with a credit card.
Really interesting in the sense of how we were paying for things back then. Roughly a third say that they buy things with a credit card, a third say that they buy them with a debit card, and a third say that they use cash. Not a lot of people using checks, not a lot of people using smartphones or e-transfers. And now that we ask within the scope of the COVID-19 pandemic, the numbers changed dramatically.
The new numbers found that in the last month, only 3% of Canadians used cash. Now, while the dethroning of the notion cash is king may not be surprising, some say the change can have negative consequences when it comes to local businesses.
So when someone pays with a credit card, the bank takes about 2 to 2.5% from every transaction. On top of that, you pay a monthly rental fee for the credit card terminal.
Alejandro Diaz owns the restaurant El Santo in New Westminster. And despite being closed for 12 weeks, they've still had a monthly bill from their credit card company.
We still have to pay that rental fee for the terminal, because if we don't do it, if someone wants to buy a gift card here or there, we don't have anything to process it.
Diaz also points out that when you tip a waiter or waitress on a credit card, it still takes a percentage out as a fee to the credit card company. Some owners like Diaz opt to pay back the tips to the staff out of their own wallet. It also may be preferable for customers to pay with cash because, as Credit Counseling Society's president and CEO Scott Hanna explains, when we pay out of our own wallet, we actually physically see ourselves spending the money.
With a credit card or with an ATM card, there's no feeling of the fact that how much money have I spent? And for a lot of people, especially right now when we have a lot of people who are somewhat isolated, being shut in, and a lot of their entertainment is being done online, shopping online.
So the advice? Hannah says track your expenses, ask yourself if you really need to buy that stuff, and seek free counseling advice before you spiral deep into debt. In New Westminster, Ashley Burr, City News.
All right, it is 9/11 here on Breakfast Television. Time for some celebrations. Here's Thor.
All right, thanks for